Okay, so today we'll talk about two architects, the North American Gordon Bunshaft and the French Christian de Portzamparc. Gordon Bunshaft was born on May 9th, and today is May 9th, was an American architect, a leading proponent of modern design in the mid-20th century, a partner in the architectural firm Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, SOM. Bunshaft joined in 1937 and remained for more than 40 years. The long list of his notable buildings includes Lever House in New York, the Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library at Yale University, the Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden in Washington, D.C., the National Commercial Bank of Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, 140 Broadway, Marine Midland Grace Trust Company and Manufacturer God, a long name in New York. The last was the first post-war transparent bank on the East Coast of the United States. Bunshaft was born in Buffalo, New York, to Russian Jewish immigrant parents and attended Lafayette High School. He received both his undergraduate and his master's degrees from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, studied in Europe on a Roche traveling scholarship from 1935 to 1937. After his traveling scholarship, Bunshaft worked briefly for Edward Darrell Stone and industrial designer Raymond Loewy before joining SOM. Bunshaft's early influences included Mies van der Rohe and Le Corbusier. In the 1950s, Bunshaft was hired by the State Department's Office of Foreign Building Operations as a collaborator on the design for several US consulates in Germany. Upon receiving the Pritzker Prize in 1988, for which he nominated himself, he gave the shortest speech of any winner in the award's history, stating, "In 1928, I entered the MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology School of Architecture and started my architectural trip. Today, 60 years later, I've been given the Pritzker Architecture Prize, for which I thank the Pritzker family and the distinguished members of the selection committee for honoring me with this prestigious award. It is the capstone of my life in architecture." That's it. Well, strange, no, that apparently he nominated himself, meaning he was in the jury. Strange. I wrote here Apollonian capitalism, you know, two words that maybe might describe his work. Here he is smoking his pipe. Here he is again smoking his pipe. And again, he was a partner in the SOM, a very large and prestigious architectural firm, Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, and an ambitious man, of course. You know, he had a successful life. Some drawings of him. Manual drawings, of course. At that time, there was no computer. We are going to see this building a little bit later. I'm trying to go a little bit faster than usual because we started 1 hour later. This is the library that I mentioned before, and we are going to see the project, the built work. He was a skillful architect, but you know, corporate architecture doesn't always receive my my acceptance easily. 1942, Great Lakes Naval Training Center, Great Lakes, Illinois. You see already, so this is from 1942, you know, but the modernism of the structure is, you know, striking even by today's standards. It's a good building. Gordon Bunshaft, born from Russian immigrant parents. The Lever House in New York is across the street from the famous Seagram building by Miss van der Rohe. This is the Lever House, 1951. So immediately after the war, he built it. This is a mid-century modernism, you know, with its qualities and maybe some of its weaknesses. This picture of the Lever House, which is this one, is taken from underneath the Seagram building by Miss van der Rohe. So this column here belongs to the Seagram building by Miss. Now, this Hanover Trust Company building in New York, 1953, again, mid-century modernism, almost, could we even almost call it international style. You know, clean plans, and that's why I ask myself, is this an Apollonian capitalism? You know, it has a freshness and an accuracy, and it's clean and sleek and, you know, optimistic. But behind this optimism lies, you know, a capitalism which is sometimes this problematic. The consular agency of the United States in Bremen, in Germany, 1956, it doesn't appear to be a spectacular building, and it's not spectacular, but it has a certain integrity of the structure. It has a courtyard, which is a good thing, but we don't have other pictures. Connecticut General Life Insurance, 1957. Again, he did a lot of buildings for the corporate world. But there was a certain, you know, I almost said idealism at that time, you know, that, you know, the very fact that they promoted modern architecture. So it was not a stiff, you know, conformist attitude towards the buildings. Even, you know, very pragmatic corporations wanted the new. And someone like Gordon Bunshaft served the new. It might not appear so new to us today, but I still see a certain level of freshness here. And optimism, yes, which we don't have any longer. I think the 1955, the one is missing, Istanbul Hilton in Turkey. You know, just the canopy, you know, above the entrance is a sign of sculpturalness and, you know, a certain poetical gesture, if we are to call it so. Otherwise, the building is, you know, a hotel. Reynolds Metals Company, 1958, another large building with, you know, a courtyard and in a beautiful landscape. Gordon Bunshaft, SOM. SOM is famous for building, you know, large buildings. They also have a great prize in architecture fellowship for students. In fact, I know of a Romanian student who got it, very generous. Well, the student was Romanian, but from Cooper Union in New York. But anyone can apply. I saw a student from Ukraine, or anyone can apply. So think twice, because it's a very prestigious award and very generous. You can travel one whole year through the whole world with the money that SOM gives to, you know, gifted and hardworking and inspired and inspiring students. A nice thing from them, I would say. So Gordon Bunshaft was a partner in the firm, one of the biggest in the world, Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, shortly SOM, the initials of their names. 1961, a skyscraper, here it is, Manhattan. So he didn't work for himself. He was for a good number of years, the main designer of SOM, but not the only one. There were other designers. he worked within that firm, SOM, which has its main office in Chicago. Montreal, 1962, another tall building. SOM, they are experts in building such buildings, and they had been for a long time. An art gallery, 1962 in Buffalo, where he was born. It's near an older building, and I like the fact that he created a modernistic building, almost minimalist. Near a building, you are going to see the other building. Here it is on the left. So the conjunction, the meeting between the old and the new, in my opinion, generates interesting results. I don't know who these ladies are here, maybe some students. A sculpture by Henry Moore, the great British sculptor, and a nice view now with a building and beautiful trees and the art of Henry Moore. The building is very, simple, so to speak, in its architecture. You see the site plan. He was not afraid to bring the new in the vicinity of the old. And I think they complement each other properly. Travertine House, East Hampton, New York, his own house. He didn't build another private house. Interesting. So this man, who was quite prolific and had many commissions, only built one house, and that was his own. He had a large art collection. I know of another designer from SOM who, said that he was even invited once with Gordon Bunshaft to go shop for art, important artists, Here, these rich Americans buying art from Europe, from famous artists. I struggle to buy some books. They bought the originals, but I'm very happy that I can have access to the books as well. Anyway, so this is his own house. What can we say, of a man who does well, so to speak. Sculptures, paintings. He loved art, and I think all architects should love art. By the way, you see at the bottom here, architectural record houses. Architectural Record is an American, North American architecture magazine, and a number of them are already, traveling towards Romania. They will arrive in Docăneasa. Maybe one day you'll see them. It's my ambition, so to speak, to create a most formidable library in Docăneasa. I love the word Docăneasa, I really do. So, a nice house, beautiful land, beautiful trees, beautiful sky, beautiful everything. Beautiful the art too, I imagine. Now, this library by him at Yale University is very famous. Beinecke Library, 1963, so made more than 60 years ago. It's almost floating. You see, it's supported only at the corners. So this this huge box, which is it's architecturally enhanced by the motif. So it's not just the structure itself. It's within the campus of a very important university, Yale University. And for a building which is 60 years old, more than 60, it's not bad. The interior as well, with this colossal, gathering of knowledge in the center, this cube of books. It's a fine building, and that's how it looks now. We can take pictures of people with their mask against COVID. inside the building, just as it was 60 years ago. Clear thinking, you know, this Gordon Bunshaft was a man with a clear thinking. I'm not always a great admirer of so-called clear thinking, but in his case, I think he achieved results which are not to be ignored. You see the plan, the sections, everything is. That's why I thought of Apollonian capitalism. Now this is a library, you know, it shouldn't be necessarily associated with capitalism, but in North America, capitalism is very developed, and it touches upon all fields, education included. Interesting also, this, I don't know what kind of material he used. He used, I think, some kind of a stone that light went through a little bit, or veneer of something, but it's I think it's inspired. It has some nobility, and it's not dry. American Republic Insurance Company, 1965. He loved to elevate buildings from the ground, as you can see here too. The structurally is very sound, insurance companies, they have lots of money, so he afforded to build whatever he wanted to build. Banque Lombard, Brussels in Belgium, lots of banks, lots of insurance companies, lots of other companies. He was the corporate man, but he brought quality to their buildings. That's it. A short presentation, but at least we paid homage to him on his birthday. Now we'll go to the second architect, Christian de Portzamparc, himself a Pritzker Prize laureate, but as opposed to Gordon Bunshaft, he didn't give the prize to himself. He didn't nominate himself. Christian de Portzamparc, born on the 5th of May. Sorry, this is wrong actually. Where I took is because on Wikipedia it says the 9th of May, so I don't know. Anyway, if it is the 5th, it's fine, but I double checked on Wikipedia. I don't know where I took this text from. Is the 9th. He's a French architect and urbanist. He graduated from the École Nationale des Beaux-Arts in Paris in 1970 and has since been noted for his bold designs and artistic touch. His projects reflect a sensibility to their environment and to urbanism that is a founding principle of his work. He was awarded the Pritzker Prize in 1994, so I guess 6 years after Gordon Bunshaft. De Portzamparc was born in Casablanca in Morocco in 1944, when that country was a French protectorate to a family of Breton noble descent. He began studying architecture in 1962 at the École Nationale Supérieure des Beaux-Arts in Paris, where he was influenced by professors Eugène Baudouin, who encouraged his taste for formal expressionism, and George Candilis, who emphasized systematic work on grids and networks. In 1966, he traveled to New York, where he spent a few months during a 9 months academic hiatus that was rooted in his hesitations about continuing in architecture. A quote from him: "Architecture seemed to me to be too bureaucratic and not free enough compared to art, and the modernistic ideals which I worshipped before seemed to me unable to reach the richness of real life. I also began to," again, he continues, this is what he wrote, "I also began to criticize my first influences like Le Corbusier. Nevertheless, he returned to his studies in the 1967 academic year and would graduate from the Beaux-Arts in 1969. He created his agency in 1980 supported by Marie-Elisabeth Nicolot, Etienne Pierre, and Bertrand Beau, and later we welcomed, anyway, some people there to work with him. Based in Paris, the agency has satellite offices near building sites in addition to offices in New York and Rio de Janeiro, and represents a team of 80 people drawn from all corners of the globe. This is the man. I think he's 77 years old today, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe I'm making him a little bit. I forgot the year when he was born. Anyway, he is our contemporary, and yeah, I almost said I don't like him so much. I like more his wife, but I don't have a picture here with her. Drawings by him. This building he built, and you are going to see it. It's in China, of course. Who else can build this sort of buildings? They built 2 skyscrapers in New York City, in Manhattan. This is, I think, in Rio de Janeiro, a sketch. This is, I think, for a building he started building in Morocco, in Casablanca, I think. This was also built, I think. Anyway, we start with his first work that I know of, and which I like actually maybe the most, is a Quatre Pavés water tower in Noisy, a water tower, but it's not bad. I really like it. He was very young when he did it. It's very monumental. You would say that it's some kind of a, you know, I don't know, temple almost like, but it's a water tower. Yeah, Christian de Portzamparc, an early work. Now, Lille Tour Crédit Lyonnais, it's a bank in Lille. I have seen it. What can we say? It's, you know, approximately sculptural, still a clean, you know, bank building. A little unusual if we compare it with the banks of Gordon Bunshaft, but still, you know, it's an office building essentially. So this is in Lille, not far away from the border with Belgium, in France. Christian de Portzamparc. Les Tours Sisters, the Sisters Towers. This is a project. I don't think he built it. Yeah, it does seem to be, you know, about sisterhood in a way. This couple of towers was proposed for the area at La Défense, where the Parisians have tall buildings being built. But I don't think it was built. It's just a project. Anyway. And as I said, he built 2 skyscrapers in Manhattan, in New York. Now we arrive at a more interesting work built for Christian Dior, a famous, you know, fashion designer. This is in Seoul, in South Korea. And I think it's a good building. Now, of course, there was no money problem at all, because these fashion designers have so much money that they can squander it or on anything. But it's a, you know, it's a pleasing building. These parts of the building that are so sculptured and fluid, they were actually manufactured in a factory and brought to the, you see here, and brought to the site, and you know, assembled on the site. You know, all kinds of things that are possible when there is no time, well, time maybe too, money limit, and, you know, to attract attention and to attract customers with a lot of money, and to buy what, you know, dresses that cost a fortune, a bag that costs a fortune, a belt that costs a fortune, or a pair of sandals that costs a fortune. This is what these high-end fashion stores do. Christian Dior. Yeah, the world of high fashion. In Seoul, Christian de Portzamparc. Here is his, animated handwriting on a picture of a model or a rendering, a digital rendering of the building. I like this building more than others he built. It does show some skill, artistically speaking. No wonder he wanted to become an artist at one point. But he arrived at the position to express his artistic tendencies in architecture. This is the staircase inside the Seoul store of Christian Dior. And, I shop, therefore I am. So, if you have the money to even enter the store, you might buy something. I mean, they cost a fortune, as you know. Probably a pair of shoes costs, a few thousands euros. It's insane, but we live in an insane world. What can we do? At the top, of course, after you make your glorious purchase, you can have a coffee or who knows what, in luxury and leisure and yeah, the good life, while the proletarians work in the factories. Palais des Congrès de Paris. This is the Congress Hall in Paris. I have seen it 2 or 3 times. It's not bad. Here on the elevation of the building, we see a few, I don't know who is on the left, but here is François Truffaut, the important French filmmaker, very important, but he died rather young. And then Picasso, of course, he couldn't miss the occasion. But the building is good, I think, and it's very similar to well, it's very similar, yeah, to the building built in Rio de Janeiro. But I think he did a good job here with this, Congress Hall. Again, this is in Paris. Now, 157 in New York is a tower. I mean, is it necessary to say that it's this one? Yes, it is this one. Tall indeed. What can we do? And there are even taller being built now. But this is by Christian de Portzamparc. If you become famous, of course, then commissions come to you, and you can reach the sky, reach the heavens, reach God himself. But I don't know. I mean, there are certain things here that seem to me a little bit pedantic or a little bit forced. But I guess he wanted to animate the elevation of the tower in a certain way, to let the artist within to manifest himself. Proudly tall indeed. Well, it helps if you get the Pritzker Prize, you can expect that indeed you'll receive commissions of this sort. Very soon we will see Francis Kere, giving up his social work in Africa and begin to build for luxury for those who already have it. This is a very interesting building. This is not his. This was built by SHOP, S-H-O-P, a younger architecture firm from the United States. And there are spectacular pictures of it. It's very, very narrow. It's just one apartment per floor. It's like a stick. And this is Central Park, designed by Frederick Law Olmsted. We paid homage to him a few days ago. And this is the west side of Manhattan. John Lennon from Beatles lost his life here, where he was shot to death by a former admirer in front of his building, maybe somewhere around here. The Dakota building, a very expensive residential building where John Lennon and Yoko Ono lived. But he lost his life at 40. Now another tower in New York is this one. You see, he tries to bring in some difference to make something, but I think, I don't know, it's, to me, it's a little bit facile, so to speak. It's a little bit, decorative for me, for my taste, but you know, I am subjective like everybody else. Not that it is a bad building, it's just that seems a little bit contrived. I actually think that if I am to compare Jean Nouvel with Christian de Portzamparc, I think Jean Nouvel is a better architect. They both received the Pritzker Prize. So this is the tower by Christian de Portzamparc, and Jean Nouvel, I think his tower near the Museum of Modern Art is already done or very close to be finalized. A very interesting skyscraper that Jean Nouvel built. Now, another one, I don't know, was it built, this one? I don't know, 400 Park Avenue. So I guess he has 3 towers in Manhattan. Not bad. I mean, not bad in the sense that, you know, he was able to assert himself in a city with many good architects. Yeah, it was built. But I'm actually tired of so much glass, you know. Essentially, it's an office building. Is it? Probably, or it's an apartment building. You can't even differentiate, you know, it's so much glass. And, you know, it's literally a glass prism, very tall and eating up a lot of energy and so on. I think times changed. We cannot afford any longer to use so much glass, because with so much glass, you have great losses of energy. You know, in the summer, you need air conditioning. In the winter, you need a lot of heating, because that glass, you know, as Philip Johnson said, and he lived in the glass house that he built for himself. He himself said that, you know, with glass walls, you have to worry about the electricity bill, the energy bill. Yes, because it's an expensive the maintenance of a building with so much glass. This building is good. This is sculptural. The Cidade das Artes, you know, the Citadel of Art, so to speak, in Rio de Janeiro. And here it is. As I said, it has things in common with a building that Hall of Congress is in Paris that he built. But here, because it's an open space on all sides, there's an additional degree of freedom. And here he shows himself, you know, kind of skillful in bringing sculpturalness to the building. A lot of concrete, of course, and concrete pollutes. This is something that we should worry about. I'm not so sure we can continue to build in the same way, exuberant way with concrete. But then we do have to use some materials if we want to build. The climate change forces us to, you know, be more modest and use materials that are less, you know, less impacting on what we call the environment. There is a lot of concrete. You know, now, yes, there in Rio de Janeiro, there is a lot of space around it, but, you know, how many cities in the world have this luxury? So it's the Citadel of Art. It's the Palace of Art, if I am to use the word palace. I'm not sure artists really need this. You know, I mean, great art was made in the gutter, in the periphery, on the edge. You know, sometimes in modest quarters, like Brancusi himself. But we all aspire, I guess, towards, you know, better quarters, so to speak. So I guess any normal artist, if there is such a thing, would love to have his work or her work, shown in this building, glorious building by the Pritzker laureate, Christian de Portzamparc. Anyway, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Christian de Portzamparc, the belly, the underbelly of the building, water going underneath, yeah, it's not bad, of course, but an expensive enterprise, no doubt. I mean, that hole, that giant hole on the roofing, on the terrace, what does it mean? Why is it there? One could ask these questions, but maybe one could just abstain from asking this question. It's a way for him to connect with the sunlight, although in Brazil, perhaps you would rather have less sunlight for a good number of days during a year. Anyway, art seems to be prestigiously honored by some governments, if not all of them, some of them out of guilt. I don't know, this rhetorical affection, if there is such a thing, towards art. If it is a sincere affection, we should applaud it. But if it's just rhetorical to show, the power of a city or the generosity of an administration, I don't know if this truly serves art. But I mean, when you think about the many struggling artists in this world, and you look at this building, you wonder, or maybe I romanticize. Maybe artists are not struggling at all. They are all millionaires, and they all show their works in a building like this. I doubt it, though. Anyway, it is a good building. It's okay. It's a good building by this artist turned architect. Nexus 2 in Japan. This one was built in postmodern times, and it shows. It's rather funny. Some interesting parts, but the postmodernism was in general fatal to architecture and fatal to himself too. Like this tower, with that, cartoonish round terrace at the top, or round hat at the top, or round, roofing, a little dubious. The cultural center, this is the Suzhou Cultural Center in China, a recent work by him. Sorry about this picture. Actually, I like it like this, but it's a deficiency of the PowerPoint. This is the building, actually, and we are going to see, a good number of pictures about it. It's one of his later creations. Here in 2013, it was said in progress, but we are in 2022, it was finalized. But we'll come back to this a little bit later. Tour Masséna, Paris, not built yet. Winery Cheval Blanc, winery, I was talking about Apollonian capitalism. Now, in this case, we have to talk about Dionysian capitalism. The wine sells well, so they have money to commission good architects. And look what Christian de Portzamparc did for the glory of Dionysus, for the glory of wine and intoxication. But we know by now his architectural language, a lot of concrete again, and a certain level of sculpturalness, and then the loop. He loves the loop, and the building in China is literally a loop. So very elegant indeed. I mean, the art of intoxication requires, of course, requires elegance. And here are the barrels filled with wine, and waiting for the customers to smash the glass is on the beautiful walls designed by the Pritzker laureate, Christian de Portzamparc. Hergé Museum in Belgium. I don't know. I mean, yes, why not? It could be this way or it could be some other way. The flowers, they were beautiful. I love the flowers more than the building. The building has some interesting parts. You know, he tortures a little bit the building in order to become interesting. Sorry for the word. Inside touches of populist aesthetics, but colors, at least he's not afraid sometimes to use colors. It's a building which attempts to bring in some joy. But again, if you ask me, if I am to choose between Jean Nouvel and Christian de Portzamparc, I would choose Jean Nouvel. Anyway, so this is in Belgium. Now, De Citadel in Almere, Netherlands. This is an interesting work, in a way, unexpected somehow because of what's happening at the top. It's a shopping center, actually. This one also rather curious. Sorry, I don't know. PowerPoint presentation, sometimes the mechanism doesn't function perfectly. That's the building, it's a square in plan, and then it's cut, kind of a distorted cross with the accesses, I imagine. And yeah, sure, it can be. It's a shop, it's a mall. That's what it is. Christian de Portzamparc in the Netherlands, and now Hotel Renaissance in Paris, part of the urban fabric. I guess, yes, it could be, but I don't know. It doesn't move me a lot. It's a mundane building. It's a hotel. Rather, I don't know. It has something about it that doesn't make me appreciate it a lot for some reason. Yeah, I mean, we saw the other day the Philharmonia building in Hamburg by Herzog and de Meuron. This is different, and of course the budget was different. It's smaller, but I don't know. There is a kind of a pedantic agitation on the facade. Somehow doesn't seem to be truly felt. Anyway, not too far away, as you can see from the L'Arc de Triomphe. So it's a street that is it's not Champs-Élysées. It's a street that goes straight into the narrow side of L'Arc de Triomphe. So this is in Paris. Now, the City of Music in Paris, it's one of his earlier works, 1984, 1995, the East Wing. Okay, this is the East Wing, and there is also a West Wing, the City of Music. West Wing, bigger and larger and more dramatic in a way. Yeah, there are interesting things here, but somehow, this doesn't move me a lot. It's rather, I'm not against capriciousness, but this is rather, easy going, so to speak. Anyway, he did it. He did it. But here, since I talked about Jean Nouvel and Christian de Portzamparc, this is Christian de Portzamparc, and here is Jean Nouvel with the opera in Paris and the Philharmonia of Paris. Sorry. I like the building by Jean Nouvel. I don't have here more pictures with it. Unfortunately, maybe in a future presentation I should. Headquarters for the press group Le Monde in Paris. So he is well connected. He receives even commission from this famous newspaper, Le Monde. Christian de Portzamparc in Paris. Now Galeo is in France. This is another building by him in France. A lot of glass again, glass, and again glass. And now is this this project that he did for his hometown, because he was born in Casablanca in Morocco. I don't know, I don't think it was finalized. The building site, I mean the construction started. We'll show the project. Here is it's a big you know, cultural complex, the model. And yeah, we know he designed a lot of buildings like this, museums, Cité de Musique, now this one in Morocco. I think I saw pictures, I don't know if I have them here, that the building, the construction started, but I don't know if I have pictures here. I made this presentation 1 or 2 years ago. But we know by now his architectural language. It's not something that surprises us. It's kind of in the same, you know, family of forms that he used in all the works that we saw. And the sketch, you know, a little bit spirited, maybe even a little bit anxious, maybe because, you know, he had a chance to build in his hometown in Casablanca in Morocco. Yes, as you see, but I don't know to what extent the construction evolved. I should have checked, but I didn't. But the construction started in Morocco, a large building indeed. Well, I'm sure Casablanca is very proud of its former citizen. No, he was born here. He received the Pritzker Prize and so on. Nantes Tripod. I don't know what this is. It's a complex of apartment buildings in Nantes, also in France. I like the fact that, you know, he plays, you know, with the plans. You know, he has a certain level of you know, appetite for you know, distortions. Hello, Mr. de Portzamparc. Happy birthday to you. Even if I began by reading that you were born on the 5th, but I saw on other sites the 9th. So anyway, so this is in Nantes, housing complex. Luxembourg Philharmonia, this is to me a very stiff work, less cultural than the other buildings, but I'm sure certain schools of thought or architecture like it. In the plan, okay, well, it is as it is, but we'll see. It's more, I don't know. It's not. It doesn't move me very much. Yes, it's in Luxembourg, which is a rather conformist city and country, but you know, well-to-do and comfortable and so on. It's okay. It's a decent building, but it's just that I don't know. It has a certain regularity, and you know, the mass is too monolithic for my taste. I think he did a better job in China, and in we are going to see that project. I probably end with it, and in Rio de Janeiro, and even in some other works in Paris. Anyway, this is what he did in Luxembourg, and yeah, I guess this is what disturbs me a little, this rhythmicity, which is rather predictable and almost militaristic, although it's a building destined to music. Fortunately, there is someone there who brings the music through his gestures and his bicycle. So finally, we can breathe in some life because of this young man. You know, is he a man? I think so. With his bike, doing some acrobatics. Now, this work is one of his most recent works, the Suzhou Cultural Center in China. I already mentioned that it's a literal loop, and it is the loop here, and it is a loop also here. So it's a, you know, a play with this form. A very expensive thing, of course, but China can afford it, although they were communists like us 33 years ago. but they understood that if they don't technologize themselves very, very intensely, they cannot maybe even survive. So they did, and look at them. They challenge the most powerful economies in the world. They themselves are, and that's why they can afford to commission architects like Christian de Portzamparc. This was built. It was built, and as you know, China has no limits. It's a laboratory of experiments in architecture like no other country, maybe even more than the Arab world. So this is the building that he built, and it's built just as you see it. Here it is, proclaiming the apparent freedom of art. I say apparent because here is because of the rhetorics. I am a little bit turned off because I think, again, maybe I romanticize, but from my own life and from what I know, this, splendor that is supposed to be dedicated to art doesn't tell the whole truth about art. And a true artist is often, at war with society, because the good artist tells the truth. While here we could say, the government could say, look, we love art. We did all of this for art, but I don't think things are so simple. Of course, these are spectacular, but rather, facile. It's a play with a form at a large scale, but I don't know. I don't consider this truly a major architecture. It is spectacular to an extent, but I prefer more modest buildings, or more extravagant, but more truly viscerally felt. There is too much grayness actually and whiteness, although we know he can employ color as well. Yes, there is an interesting movement. He is a skillful architect, no doubt, but there are other buildings of this sort. Mad architects build kind of in this way, and others, and they all love twisting. There is a lot of interest in twisting and double helixes, and now the loop. So I will end this presentation, imperfect and rather short as it was, with a small bonus, so to speak. Christian de Portzamparc was born in Casablanca. You can see below a few images from the famous film Casablanca with Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogart, considered a beautiful love story. And in a way, this is what it's all about in architecture as well. Love. It is all about love and passion. Thank you. So here are the great, lovers. On the right, the Swedish Ingrid Bergman, and on the left, the charming North American actor Humphrey Bogart. Yes, it is love. What can we say? It's the electricity of attraction. And here they are, of course, love, as the French say, il n'y a pas d'amour heureux. There is no happy love. There are also tragedies and moments of great tension and suffering and tears. What can we do? It comes with the territory of love. But this movie is considered one of the best films ever made about love. Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. That's it. So happy birthday, Christian de Portzamparc.